Welcome to the Ask a Swim Pro show. We are in Las Vegas at the International Swim League World Final. My name is Sara Soi Sturm, CEO of MySwimPro, and I'm joined by Charlie Brown, our community champion. So we just finished the first season grand final of the International Swim League. What do you think?
I mean, it was incredible. I've never been to a swim meet that just was such a production. Yeah, it was big production, fast swimmers, and overall there was just a lot of hype, and I mean the need for speed was definitely real here.
Yeah. So we saw 2 world records go down.
Yeah.
Daiya Seto in the 400 IM, Caeleb Dressel in the 50 free. Outside of the world records, a lot of really fast swimming. What are some of the highlights for you?
I think seeing both of those world records was definitely the highlight. Like, you know, we came in and like literally we were just talking about like we're hoping to see some records, and then right as we said we're hoping to see a record, he breaks the 400 IM record. And in the middle of the race, we're like, you know, what's his time? Like, is he going to make it? And then sure enough, he did.
Yeah.
So a huge highlight. And I think, I mean, just overall seeing like the engagement and how excited everyone was to be there was like a highlight in general. Because you don't always see that about swimming. So everyone just being super excited was really cool.
And you mentioned the production. What does that mean?
I mean, there's lasers, there's smoke, there's a DJ, there's music going on. You know, normally when you're at a meet, it's, you know, you got the announcer who's, you know, commentating and, you know, just kind of talking. And it's like, you know, on your mark, ready to go. I mean, the only time it's quiet is right before that race, where they're on your mark. Otherwise, music, lights going on. You know, I felt like I was watching this on TV, even though I was in person. Like it was, you know, it was an episode of something awesome.
Yeah. And so for those who are not familiar, the International Swim League is the world's first truly professional league for the athletes. There were 8 teams in this first season. 4 of them competed here in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay. They converted the arena. They built a swimming pool in like one day and had the largest 21-meter side acrylic glass. So it was completely see-through on one of the sides. Pretty crazy. And the 4 teams competing was London Roar, Energy Standard, the team that actually won the total championship, Cali Condors, and LA Current. A lot of superstars, but let's kind of run into, let's walk through the race, kind of give them some recaps. So what was the first thing we're going over?
So I mean, going off, I mean, what was like your favorite race, like in this whole event?
My favorite race, I would say the skins at the end for both the guys and the girls. And if you're not familiar, the skins is like a 3-round 50 elimination tournament style. You go from 8 athletes to 4 athletes, down to 2 athletes. It's worth triple points. Coming into this meet, I knew this would be really like hype, and at the competition, it was actually probably more hype than I realized. And it's very intense for the athletes. There's a lot of pressure on them because there's so many points. Literally, everyone's just watching 4 or 2 athletes. And so to see the skins race, and actually the team race was dependent on the result because it was so close. Energy Standard won by just a handful of points at the end, and if they didn't perform as well as they did on the skins, they wouldn't have won the meet. So for it to come down at the wire to that, it was really significant for me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it was the skins. You know, I'm a big Peaty and Caeleb Dressel fan, so seeing them both compete, I love seeing them swim against each other in breaststroke. That was fun and really exciting because you don't normally get to see that.
Right.
Yeah, so that was just really cool in general to see these, you know, big name swimmers and having fun, and just the sportsmanship of all of them. You know, they're congratulating. I mean, you know, they've got their team spirit. You know, Cali Condors are cheering on Cali Condors, but even after the meet, they're shaking hands with the other teams, and you know, it's just that huge broadened community. You know, going off of, you know, talking about these skins, there's a lot of strategy in this event, in this meet. Like, you know, in normal swimming, you got to figure out which swimmers are going to swim which events and stuff. But I mean, by this just being races and points, I mean, there was a lot of team strategy that went into it. You know, how do you think that kind of played into the event, and in the end, who won?
Yeah, so Energy Standard won, and it did come down to strategy. Yesterday in the press conference, Gibson, who's the general manager, he was saying how their team isn't the best on paper, but they came out, they were the most resilient, they had potentially the best strategy, they performed in the skins races where they needed to. And because the skins races are triple points, relays are double points, they did perform probably overall the best in the relays, debatable, but because the relays are double points, the skins are triple points, they were able to get the most points. So given the athletes that they had, and they had superstars. I mean, they had Flo Manadou, they had Leclos, they had Soi Sturm. I mean, it's not like they didn't have superstars. But at the same time, it's all about execution of your strategy, whether it's putting relays together we talk about world records, but the times don't really matter that much at all in this competition. It all comes down to placement. And so everyone, not just the superstars, are hustling for points, whether they're finishing 5th or 7th in an event, you're still getting points for the team. And so that's a unique element where normally in swimming it's all about the time. And then at the Olympics, similar to this, place 1st, 2nd, 3rd is all that matters. So that's an interesting component.
Yeah, definitely. And so going with that, all these swimmers having to compete on high levels, back to back, what do you think was the most impressive or incredible performance out of all these swimmers and events?
Yeah, there's a lot of racing going on in a very short amount of time. 2-hour window. It was talked about Dressel doing like 9 events or something over the meet, but his 50 breast was not the best, but he still broke world record, American US Open record in the 50 fly rate, and 100 free. So his swims were definitely impressive. I would think the most impressive overall performance was Sara Soi Sturm in the skins at the end. She had a lot on the line. I mean, you've got the team title at stake. She performed well and not as well in other individual events. And so it comes down to the end of the meet. She's tired. There's a lot of pressure. There's also the MVP season, which is a $50,000 bonus on the line. So although there is a team race, you got to believe that there's some, okay, if I win this, my team, everyone on the team gets $10,000 bonus, including myself, and I'm going to get another $50,000 bonus. That's pretty significant. None of these athletes are doing it for the money, but at the same time, you've got the team race, you've got everyone looking at you, you're fatigued, and she came through and dominated the skins race at the end, where it hurts the most, and I think that's probably the most impressive for me. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. I think the 400 IM record
was
incredible. I wasn't expecting it, and afterwards in his interview, a lot of people were asking, like, were you going for it or were you not? And he was like, yeah, I was definitely going for it, and I wanted it. And he was incredible. You didn't see him slow down the entire thing. He kept that pace, and then at the end, he just put everything he had into it. And so just seeing how excited and for that was incredible.
I mean, 354 is insane. He broke Ryan Lochte's record. That was 9 years old at 355. So that's pretty wild.
It was definitely incredible for that. And then Sarah's swim as well. Because she was neck and neck with Caeleb Dressel for that MVP award.
There are a few of them up there.
If she had gotten second and he'd gotten first in his event, it would have been totally different. So a lot was on the line for that. So going, we're excited. We're swim nerds. We're having fun. I mean, it was incredible to see just fans there. I mean, what do you think about fan engagement and everyone who was coming? And
so it was a really interesting mix of people who were here. I mean, you had like Michael Phelps came to watch, right? You have a lot of international superstars who have come to the meet, and interestingly, a lot of the people who are in the industry are the general managers or coaches of these teams. So like all the superstars, outside of the athletes showed up for this. There were even fans that we met this group from California, from Marin County area, North Bay Aquatics, and these guys, these four age groupers, they drove with one of their dads from San Francisco area, 9 hours to Vegas, road trip. Shout out to all the guys from the SF Bay area. But that was really cool to see that kind of fan engagement. People paid attention to this event. They drove 9 hours, they flew 10 hours from around the world to come to this event. And it was really exciting to connect with the fans like that, but also to see the enthusiasm for the sport, which is really, really unique. And I think this is just the first season, so next year it's going to really hype up a lot more. But that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Now the ISL made some pretty big updates after the meet, and one of them is they're bringing in a just a true superstar in Tokyo for a new thing. What do you think about all that?
Yeah. So they announced 2 new teams. So this season there are 8 teams. Next season, there's going to be 10, one based in Tokyo, and the general manager is Kazuke Kitajima, like superstar in his own right, quadruple gold medalist. In Japan, he's very well known in the sports swimming world, so he's going to be leading that team, which is exciting because, besides Daiya Seto, Japan and Asia didn't really have any significant presence here. So to have that Euro-Asia mix is really nice. And then also announced was the Canadian team based in Toronto, headed up by Rob Kent, who we have another Ask a SwimPro show interview. Check it out linked in the description below. So it's cool to see, Canada have a team now. That'll be part of the sort of North America, between the Americas, right, in the U.S. and Canada, and then to see the Euro-Asia start to develop. And also announced was a lot more competition. So this year, the season was, October, November, and then the final in December, Next season, it'll start from September of 2020 after the Olympics and run all the way through April of 2021 with significantly more competition opportunities. I think it was announced 10 competitions per team, 27 total matches, including a playoff and a final. So we'll see how that takes shape. They haven't made the formal announcement. They will in a little bit. But that's exciting to see it grow, and there's going to be more prize money, more opportunities to race, more opportunities for fans to see what is going on here. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Now with those, these swimmers going to be doing 10 meets. Whew. Do you think that's going to kind of help their training for like, the Olympics and just overall worlds and other stuff like that? Or do you think they're not going to want to necessarily do 10 meets?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that really depends on the athlete, the country they're in, when their own competitions are. If you think about it from a competition standpoint, having 10 competitions, call it 20 days of competing in that 8-month time frame is actually probably not very much relative to what a lot of athletes are already doing. The difference is it's in the same format that we've seen here, or a similar format, whereas normally you might have like 4 weeks where you don't have any competitions, then you'll have a couple lined up one after another. So I think it really comes down to the athlete to see how many they'll be able to do. And not all the athletes will do all of these competitions. I mean, between like in the United States, for example, you have a U.S. Nationals or U.S. Open. There are different Pro Series meets. There's also, the FINA Championship Series, and the FINA has a whole bunch of meets. Now the ISL has a whole bunch of meets. There's the Mare Nostrum Series in Europe. So the athletes really have to pick what they're going to go to. And I'm not really sure what's going to end up happening. That's for the athletes to decide. But it could definitely be beneficial for most of them. But at the same time, they'll have to be strategic with what their event schedule is like.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this was a 2-day event, tons of swims, lots of stuff going on. What do you think was the most surprising moment out of all the events that we had?
Yeah, so I don't know if surprising, but it was so going into this meet, not really sure how fast everyone would perform. Everyone's at a different point in the season. Some are really rested, some are not rested at all. Some shaved for this meet, some did not. And I was expecting that the first few events of the competition would signify how fast everyone would be performing for the whole meet. That actually was not the case. So that's what surprised me. For example, first event was the 100 fly. I'm expecting these studs, these girls, you got Daiya and Sara Soi Sturm. I thought they would, be blowing out these times, and their times were really not that impressive. And on the men's side, Caeleb Dressel just snuck in for the win ahead of Tom Shields, and they were going 49 low. To be honest, I was expecting 48 low, maybe a 47 out of Dressel. I mean, he goes a 42 in yards. So to see those times, I was a little disappointed. I'm like, oh, I guess the swimming's not going to be very fast here. But, it was all over the place, and I think, to start out kind of slow, have some fast races, see a world record, then despite, Dressel not performing at his peak, he can still break a world record, which is impressive all the time. So that was surprising to me, to see how some athletes were performing so well, and then not so well, and then performing well, all within a 2-hour window. That was really surprising for me. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Watching on social media, you see these swimmers swim all the times, and usually you see like the highlights of their fastest times. Mm-hmm. So watching them kind of do it, and not just the swimming aspect of but the strategy aspect of, they're not going necessarily their best times on these first swims because they still got to be ready for the skins later on and other things, but they're swimming fast enough to get the win and things like that was just overall really interesting and kind of surprising because, when you think swimming and you think, race, you think fast speed, the entire thing, going for the win. Yeah. But you weren't just trying to win individual events. You're trying to win the entire event. So there was a lot of strategy going into it.
And I think what was surprising is how close it was at the end. Yeah. That it came down to literally the final few 50s, neck and neck races. That was really interesting.
Yeah, for a lot of meets, a lot of the times you kind of see, midway through, you're like, oh, this team has got the clear win. I think that's something really exciting for the whole ISL. I mean, every meet has been kind of like, in the beginning you're like, oh, they've got a 100-point lead, they're gonna win, and then by the end, nope, they're 50 points behind because everything can just change so quickly.
Everything can change with triple points,
which is really interesting. And as a swimmer and a swim nerd, it's really exciting to have that entertainment value of I'm not just like, okay, this person's gonna win each time. Yep. We can look at the stat sheets and compare these times, but overall, some of these underdogs will sneak in for the win, or not really underdogs, they're some of the fastest in the world, but comparatively, and they'll sneak in for the win and use that strategy and win these events, which is really cool. Made swimming really interesting and a lot more fun for everyone as opposed to just swimming nerds.
Totally. Cool. What was your aha moment of like, this is what swimming is?
You know, I think it was pretty much right at the beginning of the meet when the announcer and DJ start going off, and you know, I was like, okay, I'm at an event. You know, I've been to tons of swim meets in my life, age group, high school, you know, college meets, and you know, they start out all the same, and you know, announcer, okay, and it's you know, heat one, lane, you know, give the names, and this was like, bam, I'm at an event. There's some cool stuff going on. You know, even if I didn't know any of these swimmers' names or their speeds and stuff, like I was hooked and intrigued. So that was kind of my aha of like, okay, this is for everyone now.
Yeah. For me, it was at the end of the meet with the skins, how much the team got behind, you know, the athletes. You don't really see that in swimming except in the NCAA in America, in that kind of a team environment. And then at the end, when Energy Standard was crowned the victors, they all jumped in the pool in a celebratory, you know, way. And that you only see that in conference championships in the United States, you know, NCAAs, right? And having been on a championship team that has won, that has done that, you know what that team feeling is like. And this was the first time I've ever actually seen that done with international swimmers in a professional type of setting. So I think people will see that, and that will help strengthen the team atmosphere that they're trying to build here. And I think that ties into how well the teams perform. I mean, Energy Standard, if we think about it, that's the most you know, team-like entity of all of the different teams. So, you know, Cali Condors or LA Current, it's a lot of athletes just put on the team to come to compete together. They don't actually train together, most of them don't. Whereas Energy Standard has a lot of athletes that train in Turkey together for training camps all throughout the year for years. You know, Chad Leclos, Manadou, Soi Sturm, right? These people are all training together anyway, and they come together, and I think that came through, and they are the team victors because of that.
Yeah, you know, that's really interesting because, you know, a lot of other meets, you don't really see that, like, on-deck team essence a lot. You know, like in baseball, football, you know, the teams are all right there on the sidelines. Here at ISL, you know, they had their little dugout, little things with their name logos. And, you know, the swimmers, of course, still have to go warm up and warm down, so they're not always there. But majority of the time, you had a big chunk of the team standing there right on the pool deck, like, cheering the event, especially those skins like you were talking about. Like, those swimmers pretty much rush those swimmers afterwards. They're rubbing them, getting them ready, hyped, and getting them ready for the next go. So it's really cool to see that team spirit for all these teams. And a lot of these teams are, you know, separated, like you were saying. So, you know, you've got Cali Condors that has Australian swimmers and American swimmers, which are normally, you know, rivals for Olympics, you know, right there cheering each other along, going through. And so it was really cool to see.
What would you like to see changed or updated after seeing this season? And what would you change?
Oh, that's a little bit tough. You know, I think I would like a little bit more of, like, swimmer stories. You know, like when you watch NFL and other things, like you get those little personas where it's like this swimmer's talking about themselves and kind of stuff. Like we saw a little bit of that, but I think it'd be really cool to really bring that in so you get a real personal connection to all these swimmers and their lives. You know, like Nathan Adrian, you know, hearing a lot of his story and come back into swimming was really touching and inspiring. So I think just more of that, of where you're getting that personal connection, you know, turning these swimmers not just into professional athletes, but into like heroes for swimmers.
Yeah, cool. Heroes for swimmers. What about the competition format?
I personally, especially skins, was really enjoyable where it's fast 50s. I would like to see more short races. Yeah. You know, the 400 IM seeing the world record was amazing. Yep. But I'd rather see I'd love to see 100 IM. You know, these swimmers can knock it out and do it, and that'd be awesome to see. Yeah. And then, you know, I really don't swim the 400 IM, so being able to compare myself to them for 100 IM would be fun. Yeah. But even then, I'd like to see some short, just 25s, see how fast they can get across, and relays. I'd love to see, instead of the 400 medleys, I'd love to see, you know, shorter relays where it's faster and quicker, and really get that speed. I mean, these swimmers can go. Yeah. So I'd love to really see that speed going off. And the longer events, you know, are still fun and enjoyable, but I think from entertainment, it's seeing that fast, quick thing is a little bit more fun. Yeah.
And I think for the athletes' benefit, right? So the athletes that are doing the 400 free or 400 IM, that's really taxing. Yeah. They're pretty much toast. They can't really do a lot of other events. So when you do a 50 or say a 25, you can do a lot of those. You can't do multiple 400s within a 2-hour window, right? It's just not gonna happen. So for the fans' perspective, yes, shorter events, I agree. But also for the athletes' perspective, you can get a lot more racing of high quality where you can do that on multiple longer events. I agree. I think, you know, in this format, there were mixed relays, which was really cool. but they were all 400s, right? So 400 free relay, 400 medley relay. You know, I want to see a 200 relay. Like, let's get people in and out. The races are a lot closer when you have 200s. The swimming is a lot faster. It's less taxing on the athlete compared to 100. 100 is really draining if you're doing multiple ones. And I agree, 100 IM would be super cool. I think one thing that's really interesting is having, so there's like an A relay and a B relay for every team. One of the challenges when you have, you know, the way it works is two lanes per team, you know, and your teammates are next to you. That really doesn't make any sense from a spectator's standpoint, right? Like, I want to see the fastest swimmers next to each other.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to have the fastest swimmer in lane 1, the second fastest in lane 8, and the slowest swimmer in the middle of the pool, which we saw in a couple of the races where you have an inverse V. So whether it's circle seeding the times or season best times leading into the final, just some way to put the fastest swimmers next to each other so they get an opportunity to race neck and neck. It makes the competition more interesting and also better to watch because you have the fastest swimmers there. And then for the relays, you know, you have, you know, the fastest relays are never going to be next to each other in the current format because the fastest relay from each team are separated by at least one lane.
Yeah.
So whether it's completely getting rid of the B relays, I understand there's a points and every point matters, but it's really taxing for those athletes, and there's a lot of things going on to watch. You know, I can't watch 32 people at the same time. You know, so you have 8 lanes, 4 swimmers per lane. Really hard to watch all of that. So whether it's only 4 relays, doing more skins type racing. So the skins is really entertaining. Having a stroke version of each of those. You know, one thing I just thought of this right now is, you know, there's a gap between races. You know, maybe you fill in a different stroke between those races, or maybe you have the guys go and the girls go. I think there's a lot of creative ways to do that that are not really being explored yet. But this was the first season. Who knows what's going to be adapted in the future. But I think overall it was a really good start for the ISL. I think it's a new format for swimming, and also it brings a new light to what swimming can become. I mean, these athletes are walking away with a lot of money that they never had before, so this is good for the athletes. It's good for the sport, and I'm really excited about what next season holds.
Yeah, me too. I would definitely love to see some Lily King breaststroke skins.
Yeah, Adam Peaty.
Awesome.
I mean, I think just on that note, so Adam Peaty is one of the superstars of the sport, and he can only really swim a couple of different events here. You know, skins with him would be really impressive to watch. Also, you know, and this ties into the team versus individual format. Some of the best swimmers in the world were not here at this competition. You know, Katinka Hosu, Vlad Morozov, right? There's a lot of superstars that their team just didn't qualify, and so they're not here. And I know that's how it works in professional sports, but given how swimming is set up, I mean, you have it's like having a swim meet with Michael Phelps not there. You know, obviously it just lowers the level of, Michael Phelps was actually here, but he was not competing. But I think it lowers the, you know, appeal when you don't have these superstars, because swimming is dependent on the stories of the superstars, right? Katinka Hosu has one of the biggest followings in the sport of swimming, and her not being here automatically lowers the appeal at some level, right? It's not like it's, you know, we still have a lot of superstars here. It's not like there's the big guns are completely gone. But when you have a couple of superstars not here, I think, you know, and that's hard because at the end of the day, it's a team race, and if the team didn't qualify, they're not going to be here. So not sure if there's a solution for that, just an observation of what it is. Cool. Anything else you want to share, recap, highlights for the fans?
I think ISL did a really good job overall. I think it's good for the swimmers and fans, and you definitely need to tune in to see what's happening next.
Sweet. Make sure you check out all of our International Swim League recap content linked in the description below. Also be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. We'll catch you guys later from Las Vegas. Bye.